Welcome to the For the Love of Email podcast. Today we have a very awesome joint venture. We are going to take this podcast and actually turn it into a webinar as part of our launch of For the Love of Email Thursdays. So you will see this coming out on a Thursday as a webinar in the not too distant future. This is our first ever joint project for the podcast and our webcast series. So I'm extremely excited. We're going to talk about AMP for email today, and I've got a wonderful guest with me, a friend of mine. We've known each other for almost 2 decades, likely at this point. We've worked together over the years, and now we actually work together. So my guest today is Nicholas Einstein. Nicholas is the Vice President of Product Marketing here at NetCore. And as always, I'm your host, Matthew Bernhout, Vice President Deliverability for NetCore in the Americas division. And Nick, welcome to the show.
Delighted to be here, Matt. Psyched to talk about a topic that is near and dear to, I think, both of our hearts, AMP for email.
Oh yeah, I'm really excited about this. So let's dive right in, and we'll talk a bit about sort of the history of email here and things that are going on. Way back before I was born, at least, if not maybe both of us, pretty close, if not.
My story starts right
emails
from
were
the left.
sent. Yeah. Pardon me?
My story starts in 1971, Matt. That's
Okay.
where
You're as old as email. There we go. Email.
Indeed.
It's a match made in heaven. Indeed. So in 1971, the first emails were sent. This was part of the ARPANET project. From there, the first email campaigns were later sent in the late 70s. And as we move through the decades, we continue to layer on additional features, additional functionality to email, including market analyzing of response rates and data, HTML content, behavioral data, responsive email, segmentation, analytics, machine learning, and now for our conversation today, AMP. And AMP is sort of one of the newest innovations in email. It's really exciting. You can do some really cool things with AMP, and you can really just sort of take it to that next level. Nick, do you want to talk a bit about what we're doing with AMP and some of the things that we're really excited about?
Totally, and just absolutely. And when we dig into this slide, and we hit on a few high points here, but from my perspective, really, AMP for email is the biggest thing to hit the channel since HTML. And we were both sending text-only emails, I think, back in the day. And the switch to HTML was big. It offered a whole new realm of interactivity and interactivity and visual enrichment. But AMP really takes it to the next level, bringing the full power of in-app experiences or in-web experiences to the inbox. And I think, it's a good transition. I think it's the biggest thing to happen since HTML.
Yeah, and I think, looking at some of the features and some of the really cool things you can do with AMP, we're going to run a few images here. So looking at the podcast, think about all the different things you can do on your website, and how you could then move some of that functionality. You can't move it all completely, that's true, but you can move a good portion of it directly into your email. So some of the features, right? Cart recovery, cart abandonment, product awareness, NPS. We even talk about things like scratch and win. So there's a number of really cool things that previous to this you could only do on the website.
Yep. And it's maybe important now to just kind of level set on exactly what AMP for email is. And it is another MIME type that you're entering in right when you're putting in your text and your HTML, another MIME type, AMP for email. And if for those clients that don't support it, you have a fallback to the HTML, but that MIME type allows, as Matt's indicating here, a full realm of interactivity, including live feeds, virtually, as we mentioned, anything that you can do in app or on the web.
Yeah, I love the idea of being able to do like live social feed, live inventory count, live product demo. So you could say like, I want to see this shirt in red and blue and green, and it's all just an in-email experience. No need to go to a website.
No, right. And as we're going to get into, it can have really big business impacts.
Yeah, so we've been working with clients for some time on AMP. Development of the emails, it's a little more complicated, but it also saves you some time where you're not building landing pages and redirect pages and worried about, did I send live content? Am I sold out of that product? So there are a lot of interesting things that you can do with AMP, as well as just the return on the number of people that are more likely to complete a product registration, or add to cart, or even browse during the email process.
Yeah. And again, we're going to get into it, but a 5 to 27 lift in ROI, and to your previous point, there is an incremental investment in coding and getting messages ready. It's one of the reasons I think that AMP for email hasn't taken off as fast as maybe we had predicted a few years ago. But vendors like Necro Cloud now have nice pre-built templates. We have a AMP for email editor to edit content and build those messages. And so, yeah, again, I think we're both pretty bullish on this prospects here.
Yeah, and from the point of view of your email service provider supporting AMP, like let's look a little bit at like from the recipient side, who's supporting AMP.
Yeah, I think the reason, the big headwind for AMP for email is there is one notable logo missing from the page, and it's Apple. And so those of us who have big universe of Yahoo and Gmail have a lot of potential AMP enabled audience members in our audience. Apple, a lot of us have some Apple there too, and they do not support AMP for email. And whether it's in the Apple mail domains or it's mail being opened on Apple devices through the native Apple email client, those are all going to fall back to the standard HTML or the enhanced HTML, however you're using there. Yeah, that's that big headwind. Again, on an Apple device in the native Yahoo client or the native Gmail client, you're going to get the AMP experience, but just not in that email app.
Yeah. So absolutely, there's some clients that are supporting it. So notably missing is Apple, but I would also say notably missing is Outlook, right? Microsoft, Hotmail, Outlook, still a very large provider for a number of brands, anywhere from 10 to 15% of the average email list. Yep. But you are looking at Gmail, you are looking at Yahoo, some international coverage with mail.ru if you're sending mail to Russia or Russian speaking individuals, because that tends to be a very predominant user base there, reading email in a localized client. And then Fairmail, which I believe is a web-based, sorry, not a web-based, a mobile-based email client. So, for supporting clients right now, if adoption were to continue to increase, I would expect you would see, increased adoption from the mailbox providers as well. Apple recently came on board with Bimmy in their mobile clients. So it's not unnecessary to say that AMP wouldn't be there, but I think they need to see market share first. And we're sort of in that chicken and egg of market share missing, adoption missing, who's gonna move first. And I think Gmail and Yahoo being out there leading the way with these has really pushed adoption, at least for our clients and brands that we've talked to.
Yep, big time. And Outlook did test it in a beta. They gave up with it, but they could adopt it again. Probably.
Absolutely, yeah, it's certainly possible. So, Nick, when we're looking at like leveraging AMP, what kind of advice do you have for people here?
So again, in terms of that audience, you're not gonna get the full email. You're not going to get your full audience, and you're not even going to get your full audience on Gmail and Yahoo, because some of your audience there is going to be opening it on, again, the Apple native app. But for that audience, even if it's a sliver of your total audience, and for many of you who are marketing to Asia, it's a big percentage, much bigger percentage of your audience who's on Gmail and Yahoo, right? Then Apple does not have so much of a foothold in many of the emerging markets. But even if you are just hitting a fraction of your list with AMP enabled emails, those emails are going to generate really big lifts in conversions, in average order value, in many cases, if for simple use cases like ratings and reviews or data collection, huge lifts in those key performance indicators, which can really make a big cumulative impact across the universe. And so we are very bullish on testing with relevant pieces of your audience, and enabling them with AMP, and seeing what we can do with them. Again, we've seen some really exciting business results.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people I've talked to as well. They're like, oh, I don't know, I've never seen AMP in the wild. I've never used it. I've never even a message from it. But, the most common use case that I've seen is anyone using Google Docs. If you're using any type of the Google applications to share documentation, to share spreadsheets, all of those email messages that they're sending are AMP enabled. So you're able to leave a comment directly from an email message on an edit that somebody made. That itself is an AMP enabled message. So if you're out there looking for an example or a use case, definitely get together as a group and just try that. You'll start to see how they work. We have several demo sites as well that are very interesting for ideas, but don't let your own imagination get in the way either. AMP can really be that piece of a message that takes something formerly as a static HTML and brings it to life.
Yep, absolutely. And you can do a lot with it, right? You can, as you mentioned, there's almost, it's as limitless as one's imagination.
Absolutely. I see examples from time to time that just blow my mind, of things. And when our team's looking at, some of the use cases and examples they want to build for clients and prospects, it blows my mind. Like when they built the search for your next airline flight in email, right? You'd never be able to do that before. That is one that just blew my mind. So if you're an airline out there and you're listening to this and you want to understand, how do I get search for flights or live pricing? AMP is the way to do it. There's lots of things there you can do. Other examples, I think, Nick, that we've seen that work really well are registration, profile information updating, NPS scoring, even gamification, crossword and Wordle type games, directly in email that your customers can play and share directly from their inboxes.
Yep. And I think a lot of people, you can come at it from a transformational perspective, appointment bookings, flight searches, inventory searches, a bunch of very cool transformational stuff. You can also implement, to your point, very basic, data collection, zero-party data collection woven right into the message. We're going to see an example in a minute. Ratings and reviews, NPS, thumbs up, thumbs down, basic little use cases that can be almost, can be unnoticeable or be woven in seamlessly with everything else, and can just generate really incremental data points, conversions, whatever you're driving.
Yeah, I even think some of the survey capabilities, instead of driving someone to a website to do a survey, it's literally surveying an email.
Right there. Chat, in email chat, enabling a little chat window right within a newsletter. People can chat without even leaving the newsletter.
So let's think, what else are we seeing results from?
Yeah. And so here, the cart recovery, perfect example. Sometimes some of your biggest, highest revenue generating campaigns or highest converting campaigns or triggers, when you're triggering messages with the ability to act right within the message, big lift.
I love this one for like back in stock idea as well. Like
Indeed.
I'm watching a product and it's now back in stock. Live update right in the email.
Bingo. Big lift. I know you love zero party data, and zero party data, those data that are willingly shared with you for the purposes of personalization. If you weave those, just asking for a piece of customer data right in the message itself, as opposed to driving someone out to a landing page, you can see big lifts in those form submissions. We actually just this week won a big award in New York around a campaign just collecting zero party data. Significant incremental data points collected without leaving the browsing experience, the shopping experience of the message itself. Can be a real win-win.
And I love this idea, the idea of NPS score rate in email, right? Rate your experience at our event, rate your experience with our delivery, rate how much you like this email. Was the content even relevant to you? Completely customizable. You want thumbs up, thumbs down, you want 5 stars, you want 1 to 10 rating, completely customizable, and super simple for customers to understand and provide that instant feedback, right? If you ask me to like, click this, go to a website, remember my login, then put a review into the product service, like chances are it's 4 steps too many for me. Send me an email, click a button, write a line of text and hit submit, done, right? And I don't even have to think about it. It's just 2 minutes of work as opposed to, 6 clicks.
Yep. And data indicate you're not alone. Everyone else too. You drive significantly higher response rates there, and lead gen too. If you're lead gen, webinar sign up, reduce cost per lead and significantly higher response rates. For virtually any audience that's an AMP enabled.
And we have a great case study for that on the Network Cloud website. So if you're interested in understanding AMP and lead gen and webinar registrations, check out our website, check out our white papers. There's a great case study there as well. Yep. We talked about this already a bit, product reviews, similar to NPS score. Again, making it super simple for a client, for a prospect, for a customer to come right in your email, leave that product review. I don't know about you, Nick, but I get emails from Amazon. It's like, can you rate that product that you purchased, right? Chances of me clicking the link, going there, signing in, I already said this, right? It's significantly lower than if they were to send me this email and say, just leave the review right here. We all know this as digital marketers, there's significant drop off and between every stage, and AMP for email reduces the friction of the click through. And so when those actions can happen right in the inbox, again, it's magic for the business results. Or even like, can you answer this question from one of our customers, right? Someone has a question on their product, give me the form right in the email where I can answer it, integrate that back into your product suite. Boom, the answer is there. You'll probably see questions that are simple, get 100 responses instead of 1.
It's 100% higher engagement, live price. So that's another component, just bringing in live data, live feeds, contextual data like weather. Here we're looking at stock prices, but it could be virtually anything.
That's awesome. So Nick, you said there was an award recently. You want to walk us through sort of the award?
Oh, love it. Yeah, there we go. On Monday night, this last Monday, October 3rd, we won Best Interactive Email of 2022, Mintra, which is a Walmart company, big fashion lifestyle brand based in India, won an award. Again, it was a basic use case enabled by AMP. It was a Grammy campaign. They were featuring kind of Grammy looks, this year's Grammys, and they wove into the newsletter a quick little form asking for demo information, sex, birthday, few other questions. Significant response rates there, and without driving people out of the browsing experience. So 140% lift in survey responses, and without any impact on kind of the overall goals of the newsletter campaign. And so we were delighted to have been recognized by Media Post as the winner of the best interactive email of 2022. And delighted that it's not one of these out there use cases, a very basic use cases, just driving really, really big business value.
As a deliverability consultant, deliverability professional, anything that drives engagement, user response, user behavior also drives reputation in a positive way. So seeing things that are lifting response, lifting engagement, lifting user use case, giving that positive signal that these messages are actually wanted by consumers to those mailbox providers is a huge step. So if you're, with your email campaign and you're wondering, why are my response rates low? Why are my response rates getting worse? Simply taking that content, making it a little more useful, making it a little more engaging, a little more interactive for your customer, reducing friction, all of those things are going to have big results when it comes to lifting your performance. And in turn, all of the good things that come with better engagement for your brand.
Yep.
So we've talked about a few use cases already when it comes to AMP. And we've done a lot of work with customers to do some unique use cases specifically for their brands. And having talked to a bunch of other developers over the last year or so about AMP, some of the stuff we've done even wowed them. And they're building their own cool things that wowed me when we talked and exchanged ideas. Do you want to walk through a few of these, Nick, so we can kind of see different use cases, get people's creative juices flowing so that they can think about what they could do with their campaigns?
For sure. We have several examples here and several more on the website, as you indicated, but calculators in the email itself to explore, in this case, interest rates and loans, mortgage calculators, calculators of virtually any sort enabled right within the email. We've seen within our customers significantly reduced lead costs cut in half, our customers are able to generate a significant higher volume of leads as well. So a big win and just positive customer experiences. For interactive emails generating, this is one generated 5.3x lift in form submissions. Again, not redirecting out of the email itself, form submissions happening right in the email, responses up 140%. I believe this campaign is a Mintra campaign.
Yeah, this was the Grammy campaign.
Yep.
So this was the award winner.
Indeed.
All right.
Part of a series there. And this one, a lot of people, when they think about AMP for email, I think about things like this, which are product carousels and the ability to dig deeper into specific products. We've seen a significant lift in user engagement for companies who are able to do this. And if they're woven into a campaign in an intelligent way, again, it's a really, really positive customer experience.
What I really like about this campaign, and this is one I've used as an example before in conversations, is the fact that you can hide some of that messy text. And it's a little popover, click a button and boom, the text is there. Boom, the click through to the website is there. But you get a really nice clean visual with the message. And then the content is sort of there for your own viewing as a consumer for when you want to see product detail, pricing. It looks really clean, in my
Yep.
opinion, for some of
Yep.
those things, and just makes
No,
it that
for
much
sure.
more engaging and welcoming to consumers.
I think you're right. I think you're right. And this is one of those experiences where you might not even know you're experiencing. It's so kind of intuitive. It's a web-like experience. You're sitting in your Gmail box. You might just not even know it's AMP.
Right.
This is a campaign, another one, getting customer feedback. This is run by, I think, the world's largest bus ticketing vendor in the world, but
Yep.
over 240% more responses and reviews right inside the email without clicking through. And again, whether it's ratings and reviews, often those of us who've sent a lot of ratings and reviews, we know the response rates can be very low. And oftentimes you're getting just a sliver of the audience, and often you're getting a sliver of the audience that's potentially the most either upset or the most happy. You're not getting the majority of the audience. By kind of enabling more of the audience to quickly and easily respond to these types of surveys, you're just getting better data too, more and better data. And because you're making it seamless to generate those data.
And effortless, like super quick as well, right? Like,
Yep.
again, it's that whole idea of consumers have a very short attention span. Don't ask them a bunch of complicated questions. It's out of 5 stars. How did you like it? What were the top things that you liked? And do you have any other things you want to give us feedback on? Right.
Yep.
Super simple. You're not asking for a huge commit. You're not taking a 30-minute survey or even a 5-minute survey. For some people, 5 minutes is just too much. So quick, less than a minute to get this type of feedback from your consumers. Absolutely priceless for brands.
Yep. Gamification too. A lot of cool stuff you can do with gamification. Carrot Lane is a jeweler, online jeweler. They did a little Candy Crush game to kind of find your own gem. Significant uplift in engagement, and gamification is one where you gamify some emails and you can really drive significant engagement across all your programs. People just gamification works.
And what I love about this is the viral conversation nature of this too. Like, if you're doing this and nobody else is, someone's going to be like, oh my God, did you see the email that I received? Or did you get that email? Basically, I could play Candy Crush in the email. Like, that's a huge thing for a lot of people. Like, that's pretty cool to think that you can do this stuff in email. Anytime I've ever seen someone try to build something in email that's a game, whether it's a CSS game or something interactive that way, it always gets a lot of press. It always gets a lot of conversation from the community. And this could be you. This could be your brand, right? Take the next sort of Candy Crush, Wordle type game and put it in your emails, and bam, instant winner. Everyone's loving it. Everyone's talking about it.
Yep, I love it.
So Nick, here's the hard part. How do you get started? How do you get through to the end? And how do you get sending AMP emails?
So, you know this better than I likely, but there is a process here, and hitting back on as we kicked off here, AMP for email has been around for a while. It's not a lot of vendors have said they've supported it for a while. Not everyone has really supported it because there is a process. It's a different process. It's a different workflow. There's a different QA process. There's a different whitelisting process, campaign creation process. Why don't you kick us off on the white?
Yeah, so
exactly
there's also some qualifications just due to the potential sensitive nature of the information you're sending, the interactivity. Mailbox providers want to ensure that the mail that's being sent is being sent by your brand. So one of the requirements to get approved is that you actually take your security and your authentication serious. So you're going to have proper SPF, proper domain keys, proper DMARC records, and not just a DMARC record, but a DMARC record with enforcement. So I think this is something that we will continue to see as a community. DMARC ad enforcement for newer and more interactive features. It's a requirement for AMP. It's a requirement for BIMI. It's a, you know, it's certainly going to be required for whatever the next thing is, in email as well, because it's a great way to get brands to think about email security, email authentication. And if you're ready to take that next step and build that interactive branding experience for your consumers, then you should be serious about your brand and protecting it as well. So that's sort of the first piece is you got to get all the check marks. You got to get everything in line, and then you can apply to the mailbox providers that support this for approval. So they have to do some work on their end. They're going to make sure all your stuff lines up, that you did it right. They're going to approve your domains. They're going to approve your from addresses. They're going to want to make sure that you can build AMP campaigns. So they're going to want to see a template. They're going to want to say, show us that you know what you're doing and that it works. So you probably have to send some tests. From there, you can run those tests. There's AMP validators, there's AMP editors that will go out and validate that you built it correctly, that it's in line with the specification, that you're not doing anything weird. Also understanding that the mailbox providers, they're going to scan everything that you do on the way in, just like they do with normal spam filtering. They're going to make sure that everything works. They're going to make sure that everything's secure. You know, they're going to make sure that you're not sending stuff that's going to turn into phishing messages. And one of the other things that's interesting about AMP is AMP's only live for a certain period of time. So 30 days, basically, from the time you send that message, AMP will fall back to the default HTML after that. So AMP doesn't live in your inbox forever. It lives only for a temporary while as well. So there's a lot of different things to remember about that. And then once those first 3 steps are done, you got the green light from Gmail, the green light from Yahoo and mail.ru, and you're ready to start sending those campaigns. Then you need a provider that supports the building of AMP and someone you can work with. So those are your 4 steps. Once you get that process done, you can happily send AMP emails to your consumers.
Love it.
So Nick, just in summary from, the world of product marketing, the world of marketing in general, where do you see AMP going? And why should more people adopt it?
Yep. So, and we come from a very interesting vantage point at Netcore Cloud, because we've been doing it for a little longer than other people, and doing it at kind of more scale, because a lot of the audience in Asia and a lot of the vendors in Asia are very receptive to AMP for email. And so I think in the Americas, we've still not seen a ton of momentum for AMP for email. I think because a lot of these business use cases haven't been out there and they haven't been exposed. And I think the audience out here listening to this today, likely that, hasn't tested AMP for email yet. And so I think as some of these business use cases kind of get more publicity, as, just this week, we won for Mintra won for best interactive email of the year. I think as the marketplace gets more information here, people are going to want to start testing it. And as people start testing it and realizing the business benefits, I see a bright future here. And I do see it kind of, pull from the marketplace as people start realizing some of these business benefits we've hit on today. How about you?
Awesome. Well, Nick, thanks for joining me today on the For the Love of Email podcast. I'm super excited to also be part of the For the Love of Email Thursdays launch. If you're interested in AMP or any of the things that we talked about today, if you have an interesting use case you'd like to discuss further, or you'd like some help with launching, or you simply want to learn more about AMP, please do reach out to us, hello@netcorecloud.com. We will gladly get back to you with information and help you build your next interactive email. So once again, thanks for joining us today, and I look forward to talking to you on our next episode.
Thanks for joining.